Majo John Madden, downtown Asheville, North Carolina. We're in the middle of 2 days of brutal cold. Big dip down into the 20s, and at times terrible wind to go with it. I think the wind has died off now around noon. And I found a spot in the sun here that's really pleasant, very nice. And I guess it's partly because I'm experiencing the environment being brutal and then the environment being soft and pleasant and nurturing, that I'm making a bunch of videos about things that harm us and things that help us to heal. I'm a Ph.D. clinical psychologist, and at the same time that I was learning how to be a professional psychotherapist, in the Rochester, New York community, I was learning reevaluation peer co-counseling, which is how to help people heal. Very powerful movement. And one of the things that was central in it was learning how to give validations, to say things to people that help them realize that they are good. So I just made a video. I made two videos. I made one about how it's been a mission of mine my whole life to do that, to say things to people that are positive. But I just made a video about a memory 30 years ago where I caught myself thinking brutal thoughts about other people. So that leads to the question, well, how did I learn to do that? Where was it that I absorbed the trauma of thinking bad thoughts about myself? And I'm going to describe 3 different threads. I was sexually abused between ages of 6 and 10 in the forest reserve behind our house by a very twisted, much older cousin who came back from Korea really damaged, very alcoholic. And when I tried to just lightly explore with my mom if these memories were correct, without giving away to her that had gone on, because I made a decision never to talk to her about it, although something in me has said, she has to have known that something bad was happening to you. But she was so not psychologically oriented back then in the 50s and 60s, working class Irish, didn't know about Freud, didn't know about psychotherapy. The whole concept of trauma was not on the screen for her, and she was not psychologically oriented. So that guy, as he was sodomizing me in the woods, would tell me it was my fault, that there was something twisted and wrong about me that drove him to do what he was doing. Something in my sexuality that invited this. And that if anybody ever knew what was going on, I would be sent to the Audi home, the orphanage for bad boys, is the way we understood it at the time. So that's one. Second was that the Catholic Church of that time, back in the 60s, was teaching us brutal thoughts about sin. That God could hate us so much for something we did that he would cause us, he back then, he would cause us to roast forever in the flames of hell. And the nuns taught us kids that. They did. They really did. And as I started to move into puberty and to have sexual thoughts and feelings, we were taught that a sexual thought was as bad as actually doing it, and was a mortal sin, a sin that could send us to hell. So there's another trauma. The one with my mom was that I was born 9 years into the marriage and was the prince, the little king. But her second message to me as a child, right after you're the prince, you can be anything you want to be, was, you're a continual and ongoing disappointment to me. Because she was unhappy. My dad was an alcoholic, hopeless alcoholic, and she was pretty alcoholic too, as a way of dealing with her pain. So that's 3 biggies, 3 big traumas that I have done heroic work, partly through 30 years of being involved in that co-counseling, to get over. Michael Franti, and in one of his songs, I'll put a link to it, says, we're all here to heal life's traumas. And that's for sure, every one of us, every human. I'm not special that way. I got a big dose. But it's true for everybody, whether they know it or not, that the job in life is not to flourish, to be affluent, to be successful. It's to heal our traumas and remember who we really are. And it can be a battle sometimes. It was a big battle for me for a long time. For the last 5 years, it's not been a battle. I've learned to like myself and love myself a lot. But I still went through a big crisis when my dog Pancho, when the COVID hit Asheville, Pancho and I took off for the North Country and spent a year rambling around the mountains north of Asheville. And she and I got so incredibly close. When she died in New Orleans, quite tragically, I went through a crisis of, I knew that through the COVID and all the changes I was going through, including wonderful spiritual changes, but also new lifestyle of living in a camper van, I knew that having that dog with me, someone that I had to take care of, kept me from going into survival. So she and I were awfully close, and she was really important to me. When she was suddenly gone, the crisis I went through was, if I don't have someone to take care of, if I'm not actively helping somebody like I was taught I was supposed to do for my mother, what good am I? It was a crisis, right? Having already had my big spiritual experience still in New Orleans, I went through a couple of days of, well, I guess I'm useless now. It only took a couple of days to work through it, but it battered me for a couple of days. That's enough for that rant. I got some more to say, but that's enough.